I used to be a gifted kid. I finished exams early, not because I studied more than anyone else. I just got it. Teachers used my name as an example. My parents mentioned me at dinners. I genuinely believed, without even questioning it, that I was built differently. And then I grew up, and somewhere between graduation and now, that identity just evaporated. If you've ever sat in front of something you know you're capable of finishing and still couldn't move, this video is about why that happens. And it has nothing to do with intelligence. In 1940, a man named Robert Wadlow died at the age of 22. He was the tallest human being in recorded history, 8 feet, 11 inches, and he didn't choose that. His pituitary gland had a defect, a broken feedback loop. Instead of regulating his growth hormone, his body kept receiving one signal: more, more, more. His frame grew faster than his nervous system could support. By the end, he couldn't feel his own feet. He needed leg braces just to walk. His body collapsed under the weight of its own unchecked growth. I used to think my problem was discipline, or motivation, or fear. But when I read about Robert Wadlow, I understood something I hadn't before. The gifted kid has the same broken feedback loop, just psychological instead of biological. Every time I coasted through a test without studying, every time someone said, "You're so smart," instead of, "You worked so hard," every time school confirmed, effortlessly, that I was exceptional, my ego was growing, unchecked, without the friction that would have regulated it. Normal kids hit walls. They struggle. They fail small. They recalibrate. That friction builds something: distress tolerance, effort muscle, a realistic relationship with difficulty. I bypassed all of it. So when adult life arrived, with no syllabus, no grade, no teacher validating me every 6 weeks, my identity hit reality at full speed. And it collapsed. Not because I was lazy, not because I lost my potential, because my emotional immune system was never built. Neuroscience has a name for what happens inside that collapse. Your brain runs on something called the reward prediction error. Dopamine neurons don't fire when you get a reward. They fire when you get more than you expected. My whole childhood, I expected an A. I got an A. 0 prediction error. 0 learning signal. My brain never wired effort to reward because effort was never required. Then adulthood arrived. The task was hard. I still expected to nail it because I always had. But I didn't. And the gap between what I expected and what actually happened wasn't processed as try harder. It was processed as stop. That sudden drop in dopamine doesn't feel like a setback. It feels like evidence, proof that maybe I was never actually that smart to begin with. And that thought, right there, is where the spiral locks in. Psychologists call it personal helplessness. You take one failure in one domain and your fixed mindset brain globalizes it instantly. I failed at this job becomes I am a failure at adult life. And then shame does what shame always does. It isolates you, keeps you from asking for help, from taking risks, from being seen trying and failing in public. The gifted kid who became invisible. Here's what I had to understand, and it changed everything. The problem was never intelligence. Intelligence was just the costume my identity wore. Underneath it, there was never an answer to the question, who am I when I'm not the smartest person in the room? School never asked me that question. It didn't need to. There was always a test coming, always a ranking to confirm who I was. Adulthood asks that question every single day, and I had no answer. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called identity-based change. The idea is simple. Every action you take is a vote for a version of yourself. I had spent 20 years voting for, I am someone who succeeds effortlessly. That identity cannot survive adulthood. It was never supposed to. The work now. The only work that actually matters is to start voting for something different. Not, I am successful. Something more foundational than that. I am someone who stays in the room when it gets hard. One paragraph written badly. One difficult conversation not avoided. 1 hour of confusion tolerated without reaching for the phone. Each one is a vote for a self that doesn't need to be effortlessly brilliant, just consistently present. That's the reframe. Not a morning routine, not a productivity system, a different answer to the question, what kind of person am I? Robert Wadlow's body had no mechanism to say enough, no way to meet resistance and recalibrate. But you do. The fact that you're here, watching this, aware that something went wrong, that is the feedback loop activating, late but intact. I wasn't the problem. Neither were you. The map was wrong. School handed us a map of a world that doesn't exist, one where intelligence is enough, where effort is optional, where being exceptional means things should come easily. That world ends at graduation. The real one starts in the discomfort you keep trying to avoid. Go there.